So when my grandparents married, my grandmother who was born in Haifa and my grandfather who was raised in Jerusalem, there was this big story, but they loved each other dearly and no story could stop them. My grandfather moved to Haifa and they built a home, and it was a very dual custom home. Both the Sephardi and Ashkenazi customs merged together, but the food, all the cooking was Sephardi because my grandmother was the one cooking. That said, Pesach came and my grandfather, coming from this Ashkenazi background, wasn't going to eat kitniot, which are the legumes, the rice, that Sephardim do eat on Pesach. That said, my grandmother had to take her basic recipes, the ones that she cooked all year round, and adapt them for Pesach. So my grandmother's basic meatballs with rice and beans, she had to take out the rice and beans and just add potatoes. So today I'm going to walk you through my grandmother's very simple, very beautiful, but so evocative and filled with memories, meatballs and potatoes. And though it was a Pesach recipe, we requested it all year round. It was that popular growing up, and we always wanted it. I've got 2 frying pans going. One, I'm shallow frying my meatballs. And the second one, I'm going to deep fry my potatoes. And just in case I didn't tell you what goes into my very basic meatballs, it's a combination of 1 pound, which is half a kilo of ground beef, 1 egg, a tablespoon of ketchup, a 1/4 cup of matzah meal, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. So my grandmother, this famed Savta Zahava of mine, those Sephardi, also had this incredible intolerance to pepper and chili. So even though I was raised on Sephardi food, I wasn't raised on any spicy food. And she handed that intolerance down the generations. So both my mother and I are also intolerant, even slightly allergic if possible, to pepper and chili. I can't handle any. When I've tasted it, I've liked the taste, but my tongue kind of swells up. It ain't pleasant. So we're gonna fry our meatballs on all sides until they're cooked through. We're gonna wait for the oil to get to temperature to deep fry the potatoes. I don't actually have a thermometer for meaty cooking, so I'm just gonna wait. And the way I'm gonna know is I'm gonna throw a tiny bit of potato into the pan, and I can see that it's bubbling, but it's not quite where I want it yet. I don't want it to fry too long. I really want the oil very, very hot. All right, so my meatballs are cooking. I want to keep an eye on them so they don't burn, but I do want them to cook in the center. I've added about 1/3 of my potatoes to the oil, and they're frying away. The truth is I want them to get nice and golden on the outside, but I don't necessarily need them to cook through all the way. I do want the meatballs to cook through, because this is not the end phase of the recipe. There's a union that's going to happen. We're going to bring these guys together, and you're going to see. It's just the most simple and basic recipe, but there's something really homey about it. My meatballs have been fried, my potatoes have been fried, and though I told you do not need to cook the potatoes until they're fully cooked inside, because we have an additional step, when I did visit my grandmother, which was often, and she knew I was in the kitchen, she would always cook the potatoes fully, so I could always grab some potatoes before she combined it. So what happens is, often my grandmother would make this dish in the morning and then save it for dinner at night. And if you're doing that, this is what she would do. She would add 1/2 cup of water to the mix, which kind of takes the crunchiness out of the potato, but at the same time, it kind of melds the flavors together, and your potatoes take on this like slightly meaty, very thin gravy, which she would let boil off. I don't know what the magic was there, but it kind of really worked. So that's what we're gonna do. So I've added the water. I'm gonna let it boil and like kind of meld the flavors together. And this is what we're having for dinner tonight. I'm super excited about it. My Savta super basic Pesach recipe makes it into my home. Exciting times are ahead. See y'all soon.